All right, all right, all right. What's up, Free? What up? Started up. All right, what's up, Free? Yeah, we in this thing, man. For those who do not know, I am the Black Guru. What I offer is sage wisdom, and this is the Godfather of Harlem, Season 2, Episode 4, Reaction and Review. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said it plenty of times, and it's worth saying again. Godfather of Harlem is the most underrated show out there right now. I don't know why it's underrated. Maybe it's on the wrong channel. Maybe it's on the wrong network. The marketing team isn't doing a good enough job promoting it. Whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. This is one of the best, least known shows on television right now. Or streaming. Because tonight's episode for me was the season's best episode. It encompassed every single thing that this show is all about in so many epic ways. Very, 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 very good show tonight. Um, it's Godfather of Harlem at its best. It's Godfather of Harlem at its best. If you, I don't know, I don't know where you at, but you gotta watch this show. It's good, man. It's good, good. And in today's political climate, you know, you have a show that harkens back to the 1960s, the political strife of the 1960s, mix in some of that mafia stuff, something I'm very fond of, with my favorite movie being The Godfather and Casino and Goodfellas, Donnie Brasco, the list goes on. And then it adds in an element of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X's strife with the nation, the FBI, COINTELPRO. They touch on all of these things. But here's the most important thing. The hell with all that. They simply know how to use characterization in a very great way. And I always look to that when I look to shows. I always look to see how they do their characterizations because that's important. Plot and characterization are very important in the show. And tonight's Godfather of Harlem episode does both spectacularly. Let's get into it. So we start the episode with Chin and Bumpy at the Geechee nightclub, which is basically Bumpy's nightclub. And they're sitting there having a drink. And I guess they've been making so much money lately that their friendship has blossomed. I guess they're blossoming into a little bit of a friendship because of the nature of their partnership. Is forcing them to become more friends than they may have expected. One of the things I was initially concerned about is how these two actually got into this position. I thought that Chin's character was undermined a bit to partner him up with Bumpy. I think it was kind of forced, but I believe ultimately it's working. And Courtney Kemp, the showrunner of Power, used this concept known as Strange Bedfellas to tell a lot of her stories on Power. And what Strange Bedfellas simply is characters who seemingly don't have much interest, seemingly are not supposed to be paired with one another, ultimately paired with one another to help tell a more effective and an effective story. It creates tension that is not necessarily spoken but very apparent. That's the goal and the benefit of the Strange Bedfellas concept. So we cut to the next scene, and then we see that they got two people hanging in a warehouse. They hang one of Chin's men. They hang one of Bumpy's men in the warehouse where they keep the dope at. So they got problems now. They try to figure out, like, hey, who did this shit? You know, who could it be? Who even knew we even, did business out of this warehouse? So they know it's some big shit going on, and they know that this killing was supposed to simply be a message. Bumpy says something. This is a fire fucking episode too. Y'all gonna have to bear with me because I'm gonna touch a lot of shit. I'm gonna try to touch it as quickly as I can, but this episode was so fucking fire that there's just so much I'm gonna ultimately have to touch. One of the things Bumpy says here, he's a little bit prophetic. He says, somebody's gonna arrive with an offer that tell us to stop. So whoever did this will ultimately reveal themselves. He said this in this particular scene. So we have the woman, the white woman that Bumpy slept with back in season 1, is now working with Adam Clayton Powell because she's donating so much money to the civil rights movement. So she's doing a show with oh, what's his name? It'll lose me right now. With the famous news reporter at the time. She's doing an interview with him, and I keep wanting to say Max Kellerman. I don't know why, but it's not Max. It's Wallace. Um, so she's doing an interview with Wallace, and Adam Clayton Powell wants her to talk to Bumpy's wife so she can get more of a perspective about what's going on in the community, so she's more educated during her interview, which is sort of problematic in and of itself. She walks up and meets Bumpy's wife again, and Bumpy's wife, remember from season 1, Bumpy's wife knows that Bumpy slept with her and they slept together. So this was a very awkward conversation, very weird in a lot of ways. I'm like, ooh, this whole time I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. So this is what we get with these two. And Bumpy's wife, Mimi, she's just like, no, I'm not having any of this. And then tonight's episode with I always call him Gus, but he was beautiful tonight. He was excellent with his acting. Betty White, excuse me. Whew, y'all bear with me. This episode was so fire, bro. We meet Malcolm's wife, and she's got a couple of letters in the mail. And one of them was a bill that the nation has started to cut off, the funding to help pay for Malcolm's bills. But the other letter actually was penned or sent by Elise Johnson, Bumpy's daughter. And the letter suggests that, hey, you know, I'm in love with Malcolm and I've had a baby. I'm pregnant by Malcolm right now. And Betty Shabazz, that's her name, correct? And she's all like, yeah, I didn't think you would cheat on me, Malcolm. Like, what the fuck is this about? And Malcolm's like, hey man, this shit's not true. You know I wouldn't do nothing like that. It's more going on to the story. There's somebody trying to divide us and break us up. Tonight's episode was fire, y'all. I'm trying to get through this. Y'all know I've hated this whole storyline. Up until tonight, it got kind of good again. So your boy is out there with Stella, and look, we got to keep this shit a secret for life. You know, he said, hey, I told your dad that they went down to Florida, and you know, maybe, you know, he get turned up, killed because he messed with somebody's wife. And Stella's like, yeah, my dad ain't stupid. He ain't gonna go for that, you know, too much longer. He's like, yeah, I know, but shit, we got to do something because we in some deep shit right now by killing a made man in last week's episode. So, you know, Stella said, hey, man, this is just between us. Just me and you know about this. So we cut back. We catch up with Bumpy. And like Bumpy said, Bonanno shows up. I actually love Bonanno's character. Bonanno shows up. And Bonanno talks to Bumpy. And he tells Bumpy, hey, man, fuck Chan. You know, you were right, bro. I turned you down a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago. But guess what? You were right. I want in on this now. So I'll cut you a good deal. I'll cut you a 60-40 deal, you know. And Bumpy's like, well, I can't at this point. I gave my word to Chin and you didn't want to do it. So I can't really, you know, I can't be, you know, fucking over my word like that. And Bonanno's like, okay, well, we'll see about that. He said, you're pretty smart. Bonanno said, you're pretty smart for a colored man. And Bumpy's like, okay, we can get funky up in here. So now we cut to the guy, Magliocla. I cannot. I'm gonna just call him Mag because his name is funny to pronounce. And Mag's over there, and I guess he's a new boss that Chin helped raise up. And he's looking through the wedding photos, and he's talking about how his wife got all out of shape, but you know, Chin's wife is still hot, and he's talking kind of crazy and shit like that. But basically, he comes over to tell him, hey man, stop doing business with Bumpy and cut the family in. Cut the family into, you know, cut him and cut Bonanno into what's going on. So Chin's like, I think about it, you know, I don't know, maybe, you know, I think about it. And he's really pressing the issue. And they said that this guy, Mag is very ambitious too. So you see, he's really trying to be a power player, and trying to make moves. And then he turns the page into one of the in the photo album, and he looks back at Chin when he had his little driver's hat on back when he was a driver. So it's kind of a little disrespectful a little bit because Chin's a little sensitive about that time where he was a driver. People kind of use that against him and say, you used to be a driver, you wasn't no gangster, no shit like that. They use it against him. So we got Elise here with Malcolm X, and Malcolm makes a request here. He says, look, I'm pretty much out of the nation, but what I need you to do is stay in. Therefore, I have me some eyes and ears about the mischief they got going on up in there. We cut to Powell and Mimi, and Powell's like, hey, I really need you to help this white girl get prepared for this Mike Wallace interview. I need you to do this. I know, you shouldn't do it. I know it's kind of fucked up, but I really need you to do this so that way it goes off without a hitch. She ultimately agrees to do it. Then we see Mag. Mag is working with Bonanno. So Mag's working with Bonanno, and they're working together to try to cut into Chin and Bumpy's 10 Harlem money. So we see Mag is doing a bunch of stuff in the background, and he's kind of hustling and doing some stuff. We cut back to old Stella. Stella says, well, there's one person I did tell about the shooting, and that was Teddy's mom. And your boy's all like, where the fuck does she live? And Stella's like, you're not going to hurt her. He said, where the fuck does she live? Okay, because they in a tight spot right now. And the only people who need to know about what really happened to the guy that they killed are those two. Malcolm meets up with Powell. This scene is very interesting because what I liked about this scene is that Powell acknowledges what we all know, that the nation had been infiltrated and had been working with the FBI during that time. Countless documents in real life have come out that the FBI and the nation were working together. And this scene is important because it acknowledges that and talks about that. I found this to be very good because what this show does is it tries to sprinkle in a little actual history and actual things that happened on top of a bunch of other fictional stuff. And here's one of the moments where the facts were better than the fiction. So Powell says, hell, man, they could be infiltrated. They can be all up in this shit. Whatever you do, just be careful, Malcolm. White woman goes to meet with Mimi, and look how they look at her white ass as she's walking into the diner. That brother looking like, what the hell is you doing here? And look at the sister behind us. They are staring her ass down. But they have a meeting, they being Mimi and the white woman here. Amy is her name. Amy and Mimi have a meeting, and she agreed to help her. Mimi agreed to help, but she's like, how much do you really know about what you're talking about? And Amy's like, I know a little, So Mimi said, hey, come with me, because I'm going to basically get you learned up. So I'm about to teach you a few things that you may not know. We cut to a very interesting scene. This scene was tense for no reason. They set, they, being the Nation of Islam, set Bumpy's daughter down, and they ask her, where do your loyalties lie? This was such a good scene. They said, where do your loyalties lie? And they said, she said, with the nation. And they're all like, I don't know. Your father is kind of cool with Malcolm X. Can you deny that? And she said, well, hell, I'm not my father. And then hear her little ass go, Glasses sit up there and say, she's lying. She's lying. I've seen the way she looks at him. Jealous, hating. You doing too much. Glasses really got on my nerves tonight. She's lying. So then Bumpy's daughter has to do this incredible speech where she's like, Malcolm is a fool. Anybody who turns their back on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a fool and a hypocrite. And I can't follow a fool or a hypocrite. So they're like, you know what? You can stay. You cool. You can stay. But he said, hey, if I ever catch your ass with Malcolm, there's going to be grave consequences to pay. So they not playing right now. They not playing. Oh, yeah, Glasses, she was getting on my nerves tonight. She really always got on my nerves, but tonight she was just really, she lying. I seen the way she look at him. All right, Glasses, get your ass out of here. So Bumpy shows up to Chin's spot while he's sitting there talking to Mag. This was another great scene. And Bumpy's like, you went behind my back and make a deal with these motherfuckers and all this type of shit. And they basically like, hey, Bumpy, we got to do what we got to do. This is mafioso. This is the thing of ours. We really can't be cutting in. We just got to do it. The families are too powerful. We can't be going to war right now. So this is just how it's got to be. And Chin tells Bumpy that. So Bumpy's looking disappointed, like, damn, Chin, I thought you was a little tougher than that. I didn't think you would crack to these motherfuckers. And Mag's all in there talking about, how about, you made enough money as it is, and you better be glad that whatever the fuck we give you, you better be glad with it. So it's like, okay. So they like, oh, okay, I see how it is. I see how it is. Chin, you folded up. You are a punk fucking bitch in this whole thing. And then they ultimately leave. Here's a scene here. They got this woman laying here looking like a damn zombie from The Walking Dead. I don't know. That was a hell of a makeup job. I guess she's a recovering heroin addict, and Sister Elise works with all of those women, but they got her looking like a zombie. I didn't know if Rick was gonna walk out. Carl. Shit. Anyway. Guy walks up and says, I felt that speech you gave, calling Brother Malcolm a hypocrite. And remember what Elijah Muhammad said about it'll be cool if he just went away? Yeah, that was a message within a message. So Elise shows up to talk to Malcolm's wife and say, hey, they talking about killing Malcolm down there. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the best fucking scene of the night. I'm trying to keep it at pace. Ladies and gentlemen, they did one of the most analogous. Oh my God, this is just good storytelling. So right now, Elise and Malcolm's wife is having a conversation, and Malcolm's wife is all like, I hear the way, I see it all in your face. You love him. And Elise is like, no, I respect him. And she was like, Elise said, I'm just trying to keep her safe, keep him safe. And Betty was like, and I'm not. So there's this tension here. There's a tension between them that's on top of the tension of the dynamic of the information being shared. This is beautiful stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm X walks in. To his surprise, he sees both Elise and his wife having a conversation with one another. And Elise tells him that, hey, they're planning on doing something to you. I think his name was Brother Charles. Brother Charles is he's planning on doing something, Malcolm. Heads up. The very next scene, back at Bumpy's house, Bumpy's wife and Bumpy's mistress is having a conversation about black women and feminism and where they can intersect and where they don't. And I feel this conversation, honestly, the only problem with this scene I don't like is that is a very deep conversation, and they didn't really have that conversation. They kind of sprinkled it, they kind of touched on it, but they didn't really go into the failures of feminism in regards to black women. They didn't really hit on that properly. They name dropped a bunch of text, and they name dropped a bunch of authors and things of that nature who have written on this sort of stuff, but they didn't have the conversations themselves. The conversation they had was actually very cheap, in my opinion. But they have this conversation, and Mimi is educating Amy about, the roles or the limits of white people in general, specifically white women, in regards to speaking on the civil rights movement, so forth and so on. And once again, in walks Bumpy Johnson. Now, these scenes are right next to each other. These scenes are mirrors of one another. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call strange bedfellas on crack. The duality of the previous scenes. So he walks in, but this scene's a little different because there's more dialogue. Bumpy walks in and says, "Hey, ladies." Bumpy's wife calls him by his name. She says, "Hey, Ellsworth." She says, "Hey, Ellsworth." While he walks up to the mistress, Amy, and Amy says, "Hello, Bumpy." I said, "Oh my God." I just thought that was so well done. I just feel like that's so well done. It again creates conflict on top of the conflict that's already there. There's tension in the scene that exists based on all of these characters' histories, but that's not really the purpose of the scene. The purpose of the scene is to communicate what Amy ultimately communicated, that she fully understands, the black woman's plight as far as, or she moreover understands the limits of a white woman to speak on this topic, and that it may be wise for her to turn the speaking over to Bumpy's wife, because it's better for Bumpy's wife to speak on this topic versus Amy. But these two scenes and this whole episode is really set up these two moments in a lot of ways with these four women. What's up, Toxic? Damo, what's up? The whole thing is to set up these moments, and I think it was beautifully done. I just really do. I think it was well done. It reminds me of Courtney Kemp, what she used to do in some of those early seasons of Power, when she would tell these strange bedfellow stories, and she would use a lot of visual storytelling to juxtapose and set these characters up in interesting situations that not necessarily have to do with the overarching plot of the show, but creates tension and adds depth to a show. And that's what I always look for when I say, is this show good? Is it not good? Does it have depth to it? And these two scenes represent the depth of tonight's episode. That's why I say season 2, episode 4 is probably one of the best episodes of Godfather of Harlem I've seen so far, because the level of depth they were able to add to what really is basically a very simplistic plot on tonight's episode. Very simplistic. So shout out to these two scenes. I believe that was extraordinarily well done. Then we get this moment here. We get Teddy's mom, is out here, folding clothes, and for somehow she let this guy creep up on her, scares the bejesus out of her. And he's like, "Look, baby girl, you gotta go." She was like, "Why do I gotta go? I ain't did nothing wrong." He said, "Look, I got $5,000 for you right here. I got $5,000 for you. Don't you have some family somewhere?" She was like, "Yeah, I got a sister in Ohio." He said, "Well, that's where you need to go." And then she goes, "Why do I gotta go? I ain't did nothing wrong." I love this scene too. I absolutely love this scene. After two previous scenes that I loved, here's another scene I thought was very good. She starts to get into this whole preachy thing. "This is blood money, and I can't for the life of me take no blood money. It ain't right for me to leave." The boy put that gun out so fast, she turned around and said, "Oh." She was like, "Okay, I'll take the money." She changed her mind so motherfucking quick. He pulled that gun out. He pulled that gun out on her motherfucking ass. He said, "Look, this is an offer you can't refuse. This ain't no moral oral shit. $5,000, take the money, take your ass to Ohio." And she's always been a little preachy to me. That's why I can't say I don't like her character, but she was just always a little preachy. And she started to get into her preachy shit, and she heard the click clack of that fucking pistol. "Look, girl, you gotta go. This is not a game. Right in the middle of her sermon. Oh my God, it ain't right. This is blood money, and I can't profit on the. Okay, I'll go. I'll take the money. I bet you will. Now get your ass on. We cut to this scene here, the FBI sitting outside of Brother Malcolm's house where old Charles is being sneaky. He's sneaking around and he's setting up a bomb, hooking up a bomb to Malcolm's car in the middle of the night. And Brother Charles is planning some devious shit where Brother Malcolm catches him slipping. He says, "Look, brother, I should blow your brains out. My wife takes this car. We share this car. She takes my kids to school in this car." And then Charles started kind of crying a little bit about it. He said, "Do you want to be the white man's whip? Get your ass out of my car." I love this scene. Like, these are 4 scenes in a row I just love. Like I said, I love this episode. I really do. Get your ass out this car. You know, and Brother Malcolm didn't shoot him or anything like that, but I love this fucking scene. So that's just 4 back-to-back scenes, and they took their time in the beginning of the episode setting all of this up to where these dominoes are just falling. I mean, they're just falling in place. So Malcolm walks the device over to the FBI that was sitting out there, and he basically goes, "Hey, tell J. Edgar Hoover, y'all doing a great job protecting me, quote unquote, And he lets him know, "Hey, y'all ain't shit right now, and I know y'all don't really give a fuck about me. Y'all rather see me dead than alive at this point." So then we get into tonight's climax. Like I said, that's 4 great scenes in a row. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 5. The conclusions of all of tonight's stuff was just wonderful for me. Bumpy walks into his own club, and they said Chin is doing all of the security because Bumpy is to meet with Bonanno, Mag, and Chin, and the French Connection sitting behind them as far as restructuring their 10 Harlem deal. What up, Key? And Bumpy takes a seat, not sure. They like, "Hey, why the French Connection even here?" But they were there. And, Bonanno's like, "Hey, we're going to take over the loads that the French Connection is bringing in. And, just because we've been missing out so much and, y'all didn't go through me first, we'll give you about 5%, Bumpy." Bumpy said, "Fuck that. 5%, man? Fuck that. It's fucking bullshit." But this scene belongs to Chin. Chin sits back and he looks at Bumpy. He said, "Bumpy, you're right, man. We were being greedy." But you said, you know what he said? He said, "You know what else? Bonanno, your ass been greedy too. Your ass been greedy too. Bumpy came to you first and you turned him down. But now you mad? You more like a sore loser. Ain't that right, Mag?" He said, even new bosses make mistakes, right, Mag?" Mag's all like, "Well, what do you mean?" And this is the part I love the most. He said, "Mag," he said, "you was at my wedding. I helped bring you up in this thing. And you find out I was making money and you go ahead and make a deal with Bonanno. And Bonanno's been fucking me over my entire life. And you choose to align yourself with him instead of coming talking to me. And I'm the one to help raise you up. I had you at my fucking wedding. And you align yourself with fucking somebody don't fuck with me." He said, "that makes me question our friendship." And Mag's all like, he's like, "Oh no." And Chin blows his fucking brains out. Chin blows his fucking brains out in the middle of Bumpy's club. I love it. I love it. And you know what? I didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming. I'm normally very sure-eyed with these sort of things. I did not see it coming. He blows Chin's brains out. Bonanno gets up to react. Bumpy runs over to him with the blade and says, "Hey, don't do nothing, motherfucker. Don't do nothing." Bonanno says, "Hey, you can't kill me." He's like, "Well, look, you wasn't supposed to be out here doing this little business, so you better keep quiet. about this? Are we gonna tell the other families you was trying to fuck them out of some money? So then we get this scene here where Amy basically turns the floor over in regards to black feminism or black womanism over to Bumpy's wife so she can speak with Mike Wallace about the issues facing black women in the civil rights movement. So I enjoy the resolution that we got here as well. And then we have a commitment of Chin basically suggesting that, yeah, we in some shit, but they basically said Bonanno's going to come back. We know Bonanno is not going to stop where he stopped at, but Chin was like, yeah, it'll be all right if we stick together. So, I mean, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely loved it. I'm adverse to giving 10s, right? I don't want to give 10s because it's like, was it really a 10? So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'm willing to give this episode 9 out of 10, especially in the context of the show that it's in. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I absolutely love tonight's episode. I love the strange bedfellas effect that they did with the 4 women: Betty, Malcolm's wife, Elise, Bumpy's daughter, and then with Amy, Bumpy's mistress, and Mimi, Bumpy's wife. I love that they did that. I love that they did that in back-to-back scenes. I think that was just so well done. I love the resolution. I love Chin's moment. I love Chin's moment tonight. When Chin said, yeah, we were a little bit greedy, but you know what, Mag? You went to go fuck with my enemy, bruh. I'm the one who brought you up in this thing. I'm the one that helped you become a boss. He said that multiple times tonight. I had you at my wedding. And when the opportunity came, you ran to my enemy so you can cut some fucked up ass deal? Nah. And he blew his fucking brains out right then and there. Love it. I love the resolution. And what's so interesting about that is that Mag was introduced as a character tonight. So his entire character arc was in one episode. But Mag's entire character arc helped solidify Chin's character moving forward. So I love that. I love Powell's acting on tonight. Clayton Powell's acting on tonight when he had his conversation with Malcolm, when he had his conversation with Mimi. He was outstanding tonight. The acting was outstanding really across the board tonight. Yeah, I gotta give it a 9. I gotta give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, y'all know how I am. Y'all know how I do reviews. I'm normally hard on shit. Y'all know that. Y'all know it almost comes off as if the black guru doesn't like shit. But when something's good, I gotta say it's good. And as an episode, as a contained episode, because one of the things about Godfather of Harlem is that it does a little bit of monster of the week storytelling in a sense that every episode is kind of its own contained plot. They use elements from previous episodes, but it's not episodic in the sense that whatever happened last week will be addressed this week and so forth and so on. I mean, hell, look at tonight's episode. They pulled Amy up from season 1. They pulled the relationship that Bumpy's daughter and Malcolm had back from season 1. So they pulled in a lot of stuff from season 1 just to make tonight's episode work properly. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'll definitely get a 9. I want to go 10 out of 10, but I'm just being conservative. But I'll definitely give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained. Hell, I watched the episode twice and was thoroughly entertained both times. So for those who do not know, I am the Black Guru. What I offer is sage wisdom. Follow the Black Guru if you don't already, and keep those hearts flying. Subscribe to YouTube for more Godfather of Harlem reaction and review. And if you're not watching this show, you gotta watch it, man. I mean, I don't know why this show is so underrated, considering the cast, considering the subject matter. There's only a few people really out here talking about it, but shit, I'm gonna be the main motherfucker talking about it. I'm gonna keep talking about it. So tomorrow's episode will air, or I should say episode 4 will air tomorrow, and I'll be reviewing that as well. So I appreciate everybody's time, and I catch you on the flip side. One love.